I did this live stream. Is that better? Is it worse? I don't know. Right. Let's go down a bit, I think. No, that's too quiet. That's off. Hang on.
Because it's raining and there's
Rob's
no one
on.
out there.
He's on the. This is the guy on the show before mine, Rob Bog.
So I'm gonna head off.
Brilliant
Thanks
as
for listening
always.
Tonight, I will be back next week in our penultimate week of broadcasting. So I'll see you then. Look after yourselves. Stay happy. Stay healthy. This show will be available on the Off the Chart Radio Mixcloud to listen back to. I'll speak to you soon. Ciao.
I'm going to just turn that off because our live broadcast stream is actually a few seconds behind. It's more like 40 seconds. So if I don't turn it off now, I wait till Rob's show actually finishes in real time, I'll be 40 seconds late starting mine. So if I stop talking, that's why. But yeah, hi, I'm Jamie Nemeth. I'm about to go live on air on offthechartradio.co.uk in 30 seconds exactly. Well, 25 now. So if you want to hear the music as well, www.offthechartradio.co.uk, because I can't play any music on this stream. Licensing reasons. So won't be offended if you just watch a little bit of this and then go, oh, he's on the radio, is he? And then get yourself straight over to offthechartradio.co.uk, where I'm going live, well, now. Pretty much. Now in a minute. now in a second. Oh wow, and like a true professional, I started off exactly on the signal from Rob Wong saying, go! I pressed the button, I played the top of the hour jingle. I hadn't turned the faders up though, had I? Deary, deary me. And we're kicking off the show with a bit of Twin Atlantic. 8 days, because I ended the last show on the Beatles' Day Tripper, so that's what we're carrying on with the tenuous track title tour. Oop. No, I need to turn the mic down. Right, too many things going on. So, technology willing, we'll have an interview with Ross Cooper at just gone 8:30. So, yeah, that should be fun. Playing a bit of Twin Atlantic now. They almost came to Swansea, Twin Atlantic, but well, I was going to get tickets, and the ticket links just disappeared, which is a shame, because they cancelled. This was years before current crisis. So yeah, I'd love to have seen them live. Well, they've stopped. I don't think they've broken up, have they? Hope not. So yeah, if you're tuned in on the live stream, feel free to send me a message. It should pop up there. Yes, finally pointed in the right place, because every week I've tried to point at something in my studio. I've pointed in the wrong place, so my brain's obviously rewired itself correctly. So yeah, message should pop up there, and you need to go there if you want to hear the music, because licensing reasons, as I mentioned before, mean that I shouldn't play music on the video live stream. I can. Other people do, but I'm trying to be good. And having done radio for a long time, I know better, so I can't get away with ignorance. I hope we have... they were talking about, at one point, bringing in a tax on the Isle of Man. Everybody would have had to pay this tax, but it's like £10 a year, and everyone on the island had unlimited access to music for that £10 a year. I thought that was a really cool idea. I don't know if it ever came off. I'd do that. I'd pay £10 a year for the ability to use unlimited music on my video live stream. That'd be pretty cool. Nice and easy. We don't have things like that, unfortunately. Right, and I keep trying to play on the show some like album tracks that I haven't heard myself before. So this is Take That, 8 Letters. The screen behind me. Oh, crumbs, right. That's why it's not updating. Oops. I thought, oh, the screen behind me isn't updating. That's because I need to turn on another switch. Too much going on again. Excuse me. I mean, the track updater isn't perfect, even when it's not my fault. Sometimes shows the track like 2 before the one I was playing. But yeah, in this case, I just forgot to press the activate button. So, boring tech stuff. May not be boring. It's not boring to me. So what I'm using to stream the radio show also looks at a text file that's on the computer, and that text file gets updated with the track title. That's what gets sent to the website for licensing purposes, but also, as a byproduct, it ends up on Off the Chart Radio website, on the Off the Chart Radio website, and ends up on this screen behind me. Except it doesn't if I don't press the buttons. That's what that's all about. So I'll wait till that appears, and then got plenty of time for this track to appear, because we've got 6 minutes left of this one. So as soon as it shows the Twin Atlantic track, that means I know then it's been logged. That's the key thing. Yeah, Take That, 8 Letters. I haven't heard this one before. So if you are just joining me on the video live stream, hello, welcome. Wow, got more people now. So send me a message, let me know you're listening, because I can't necessarily see who's watching, but I will obviously see you if you send me a message. So I'm on Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, and it was even out YouTube. Well, that's because it wasn't working a couple of weeks ago, so not forgetting YouTube, last but not least. So if you send me a message on any of those, it should pop up there. What I've also got to remember to do is read it out on air, because sometimes I'll say hello to somebody. There we go. Sometimes I'll say hello to somebody on the video stream and forget that I've not actually mentioned them on air. I should have done. Okay, right. Hello to Aaron as well, who's liked the video. So yeah, I'm gonna try and make an effort to keep talking on the Twitch stream and all the other live streams and things. But if I fade away from you, it's not intended to be rude. It's just that I can obviously hear what's going on in the headphones. Hopefully you can't. If I've got the headphones too loud, you might be able to hear little bits of it actually. So just probably turn the headphones down a bit. Also, it stops me shouting over the top. This is one of those CD tracks, isn't it? But again, I'm a true professional, and I'm here ready to cut into it. Look how slick that was. You wouldn't even know there was a mistake there if I hadn't pointed it out live on air. Never mind. That was Take That and 8 Letters. Before that, Twin Atlantic and 8 Days. You can see where I was going there. I had 2 tracks with 8 in the title, so I ran with it. But we're not going to keep doing a numerical theme tonight. We're going to move on with the letters theme, I think. And a band called Rusty Shackle, who I love. And have I turned down the right one? I can still hear it in the background. Dear me. Right. Hello to producer Mum and Dad as well, who joined me on the clapping outside, except that nobody else clapped because it was raining. Why were we the only ones clapping? It's not. I thought everybody was still going to do it. What was this false promise? Hello. You got to talk. If you turn on the mic, I'm going to assume you're going to talk. So I'm leaving you the gap. I'm doing like when we're doing video calls and things. I'm leaving the gap for you.
I suddenly realised
Yeah.
this is actually the first week it's been raining.
That's true, actually. Although people have been commenting on that, haven't they? And saying, typical, now the rules have been relaxed with lockdown. It rains. Which is pretty much what happens. The weather knows in Wales. The weather really does know whenever anything remotely interesting is going on. Usually it's something astronomical. Yeah, if it's like an eclipse going on. Although
an aurora do as well?
I've never seen an aurora. Some people have been very lucky. I live in Wales, in case you couldn't tell from the accent. And some people have, if they're very lucky, managed to get up to the Brecon Beacons. I'm not saying don't do that now, obviously.
Unless you live within 5 miles.
Unless you live within 5 miles, or even live in the Brecon Beacons. Some people do. But some people managed to get there and got a view of the aurora when they were particularly strong last time. You can go on to, I think it's on both phone types. Both major phone manufacturers. I'm sure there are others available. Both major operating systems, that's the phrase I was looking for. You can go on to Aurora Watch, and it will give you an alert and tell you when the aurora are strong enough to see them. Because you might think, Northern Lights. Well, don't they only happen up at the North Pole? Well, yeah, obviously the aurora are at the poles, but sometimes the sun's activity is so strong that those aurora push further south than is normal. And Aurora Watch is cool because it'll give you an alert and tell you, tonight you've got a chance. And it's worth having a look. I mean, the worst that'll happen is you look up and there's nothing there. Unless you're in Wales, in which case the worst thing that'll happen is you look up and it's cloudy.
Yeah, but do you remember when we took a epic journey? Epic in that we didn't go that far, really, but we went up a mountain road and we didn't really know how good the road would be, how far we could go before we'd get onto land that we couldn't go on to. And then, thankfully, we got to a slope and there were a couple of other people up there, so we thought, okay, this is an okay place to park. And we parked there and we waited and we waited and we waited. And we thought we saw, no, it wasn't. And then we came home to be told that in Swansea, they'd seen it.
Yeah, I know. And that defies logic because the Brecon Beacons is further north than Swansea is. So we were just gutted. How does that work? We went closer to the aurora and missed it. Did it overshoot us? Did it only happen in Swansea, maybe? And even the people who'd booked trips to go and see the Northern Lights went, oh, well, this is boring. Can't see anything up here. Must be in Swansea again. So frustrating. But yeah, whenever there's a lunar eclipse, definitely when there was a solar eclipse. To be fair, it was an equal opportunities overcast sky in the UK. Wales, England and most of Scotland in 1999, going way back. There have been other solar eclipses since then, partial ones, and obviously in different parts of the world there have been other total solar eclipses. But in the UK there was a big moment. Everybody had, we had goggles printed. You could get in Woolworths. That shows how far back it was. You could get your solar spectacles for £1, ready for the big eclipse of August 1999. And it was, I think, if I remember rightly, it was cloudy everywhere apart from on Concorde, yeah, Concorde, the plane, as in it was above the clouds. A little spot in Cornwall, maybe for a couple of seconds. I'm not sure exactly where, but I think the Channel Islands, the Isles of Scilly, saw a bit of it, and and then probably like maybe somewhere in the Shetlands or the Faroe Islands or something like that. There were islands somewhere along the other end of the path that got to see a little bit of it, but everybody who'd camped out ready to watch it missed it. Oh, and we saw a bit. No, we saw a partial, didn't we?
Oh, we saw it.
Yeah.
We were in Mablethorpe.
Because I was cursing Mum and Dad because we were going to see a relative of ours, and we had to travel very far north to go and see them. And I was saying, how could you do this to me? I didn't really have an appreciation of really, family are more important even than a solar eclipse. I know solar eclipses are rare, but there will be more solar eclipses. There are only limited opportunities to see certain members of family depending on how far away they live. And so, yeah, we had to go. It was all booked. But I was really annoyed as a kid. I was just like, how could you do this to me? I thought it was the biggest atrocity in the whole world. Yeah, it's
We've done worse.
pretty small in the grand scheme of things, I know. But what worse have we done?
To you.
What was that? Oh, the balloons you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, you hated the balloons.
Yeah.
I didn't know you hated the balloons.
Yeah, I didn't know I hated them until about 15 of them appeared in the garden, and I thought they sprouted out of the garden because I was very young. I thought they were like aliens or something that had come to get me. I don't know what I thought, but I was terrified of them. What was the worst thing? Go on.
The worst thing was when we made you fly a quad bike. Well, we didn't make you.
Yeah.
You decided to do it all by yourself.
Yeah, I didn't decide to as such. It was just the first time I went around this, it was like an off-road track. It was only a tiny track, but I did this off-road quad bike and it was quite cool, yeah. And then the second time I went for my birthday, they asked me, have you been here before? And I said yes. So they went a little bit further in front of me than they did the previous time. And I'm no speed demon, but I was trying to catch up, and so I was going a little bit faster. And then I lost sight of them. So then I thought, okay, well, I was actually going quite slow. But I had no visual judge of speed, whereas the time before, he was really close in front of me, the guy who was taking me on the course. They were different guys both times. So I had no visual judge of speed, so I was just sort of pootling along. And then I thought, right, okay, remember what he taught you. He said the quad bike is more likely to fall over. Sorry. He didn't say that at all. He said the opposite. He said the quad bike is more likely to stay exactly where it is. Even if it's got quite a lean on it, it probably won't fall over. You're more likely to slide off the top of it. So what you've got to do is really lean over the opposite way to counterbalance yourself, because the bike will stay put, pretty much, until it goes virtually sideways. It'll stay on the ground. So I really leant over.
But you really turned up the acceleration.
Yeah, because as I leaned, my thumb stuck out, and the thumb's where the throttle is, and so I went full throttle over a cliff. Luckily, it was only a 6-foot cliff, but you don't want to be driving a quad bike at like 30 miles an hour over a 6-foot cliff. And I ended
with
up,
a river on the other side.
ended up landing on a rock. I bounced off the quad bike and sort of came to on the bottom of a riverbed. Again, luckily, it wasn't a very deep river, but still, it was deep enough because I was immersed in it. So, yeah. This person that everybody thinks of as not really a massive thrill seeker, well, maybe that's why. But, I flew a quad bike off a cliff, into a river, slammed into a rock, bounced off, got thrown over the handlebars, and survived to tell the tale. Only just, though. I could have drowned. That's the embarrassing thing. And even worse, when I didn't drown and managed to get myself out of the water, there were my parents pointing and saying, haha, look, you tried to jump the river and you didn't manage it. No, I didn't try.
No. Get it right.
You thought I'd try to jump the river, you said.
No, get it right. The first thing we said was, what have you done to that quad bike?
Oh, yeah, it was, which is even worse. Yeah. Quad bike was fine. I was a little bit bruised, but they got me straight back on it, which at first I thought, well, this is a bit strange. Surely you should be just not letting me near it. But no, it was actually really good to do that, because obviously, if I'd been injured, I'd have had to go to hospital. It was more like a sort of, I was sore. Somehow, no broken bones, I was just sore, because, I had slammed into a rock in the river, chest first type of thing. But, yeah, it was like, I'd fallen, my pride was hurt more than my body was, but got straight back on the bike, and actually that was a good thing because that's what they said. They said we did that deliberately because if you didn't get straight back on, you might have had a fear of quad bikes. And so yeah, fun story. But eclipses I was talking about, I think.
You eclipsed that river.
Yeah, that's true. But we went really far north. I was cursing my parents for doing this to me, but I actually got to see a lot more of the eclipse than anybody else in the entire UK did, because it was only the further north you go, of course, you go out of the path of the total eclipse and you only get a partial shadow, unless you believe the Earth is flat, in which case, yeah. But
And you even had a camera.
yeah, I
One
took
of those
photos.
old-fashioned type proper cameras.
And my science teacher then was saying, I showed him the photos, he was really impressed, and he said, I would have lent you some really expensive lenses. That shows how much respect, mutual respect we both had for each other. But he said, if you'd only told me, if I'd only known, I would have, in 2020 hindsight, I would have lent you these expensive lenses because he didn't know what type of camera I had, so that I could have zoomed in on it a bit more. Of course, the downside of zooming in on the sun, they tell you do not look at the sun through binoculars or telescopes. That's because it magnifies the sun. But what it's doing the other end in the eyepiece is also sort of focusing the sunlight more tightly. That's how magnification works. I'm not intended to turn this into a physics lecture, but it's putting more heat onto your retina, more light onto your retina. So that's why you should never, ever even stare at the sun without anything. You shouldn't stare at the sun for too long at all, really. What they reckon saves your eyes is that if you accidentally look at the sun, you end up blinking. Your eyelids will protect you because it'll be a reflex action you can't help. But if you deliberately try and stare at the sun, it will do your eyes damage, so don't do that. But if you're looking through a binoculars or a telescope, you're overriding that blink reflex, it's called. And so when you look through the binoculars, you're intending to look through, so you're sort of overriding it, or the actual binoculars, the eyepiece might be in the way of your eyelids. And so, if you're using binoculars wrong, I suppose. But yeah, it'll stop your eyelids working properly, and it'll stop your reflexes, and you'll be overriding your reflexes. And also, it'll take a lot less time to damage your retinas. So why am I talking about this at night? I don't know, but it'll be daylight somewhere. Anyway, how are you, producer Mum?
Pardon?
How are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. How's this week gone?
This week has been a strange week, but because there's been obviously news that has upset the world globally, and made people feel sad and react in different ways. We reacted by going down on one knee. Other people reacted by going out and putting themselves at risk, and everybody else, which is very upsetting because of large gatherings. And I think when we clap tonight, I feel that the clap is for the NHS workers who will have to mop up the situation as they have, but also because we've forgotten about other frontline people. We forget about the teachers who are now really worried about the situation they're in. So it's a clap for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I'll admit, I was in sort of two minds about it in some ways, because as they said, oh gosh, what have I done to my computer now? As they said, it's like I was trying to show the photo to people. If you're watching me on the live stream, there's it's like trying to do a slide presentation on the hop, but yeah, there's us. Look, doing the kneel. And some people said, of course, we're talking about the very sad news about what happened to George Floyd over in America, and I wasn't going to go too deeply into this because one, if I let myself go too deeply into things on the show, I'm going to be consumed by it myself and just not be able to do the rest of the show. But obviously, I think it's right to mention it, and this is the first opportunity I've had to mention anything on Off the Chart Radio about what's happening in the world, and it's awful, and it's pleasing to see that it's being taken very seriously by the Attorney General, who they've raised the charges for the policeman to and they're fully investigating it, and the family are fully investigating it, and the family have said how much they appreciate all the support. And yeah, the reason people were worried about taking the knee is that they thought, well, is that kind of doing is that replicating what happened? But no, it's actually a nod to an NFL match a few years ago where somebody took to their knee during the national anthem, and so that's what it's a nod towards. If anybody's seen that photo, that's what it's there for. So we thought, well, that's a safe way that we can show some solidarity from home. Obviously, we understand that lots of people are very upset and passionate at the moment about the situation, and expressing that in any way they feel they can, and they're just really worried for everybody, and just want you to stay safe, you know.
Well, both his brother and sister have set up independent pages if people want to donate to them to help the family, haven't they?
Yeah, and I need to do that as well. I was going to the other day, but it allows the excuse, but I need to update my my account because I got a new card through. Every 5 years it happens. You'd think 5 years would be enough time to be prepared for it, wouldn't you? But no. Every 5 years I still manage to be surprised by the arrival of a new card, but there we are, a new payment card, debit card. So yeah, I need to put those details in, and then I'll be making a donation. So if I know there's several people as well, feel free to email in, by the way. Jamie, I've got my own email address, jamie@offthechartradio.co.uk. Send me a message on social media as well. I know lots of people have been putting together things like they've called them super links, where particularly for people in America, they've been putting up links to legal advice that people can get. Because again, the situation in America is different. I was very vocal about being worried here, particularly because we're only just getting to grips with the coronavirus now. It doesn't feel like quite the right time to be going out en masse at all, even with masks, even with 2 meters distance. It's just, I get it, but not right now. It's that's just my opinion. I'm just putting it out there and making it clear that's how I feel. But yeah, in America it is different. Whether we think it should have or not, restrictions have been lifted in lots of parts of America. We saw a gig, didn't we, the other day with Christian Grace, originally from down the road from me. Say it again, sorry.
In a winery.
Yeah, and everybody was very responsible there. They were socially distancing. They were all outside. But it was a bit of a surprise because, of course, we've been used to not going anywhere in this country right now because of the lockdown. So seeing somebody, who is local, though he lives in America now, lives in Georgia. I can't remember exactly where the winery was, but it's just like, but he's doing a gig. How's he doing a gig? Because they've had no new cases for a while, and they've lifted restrictions. Okay, right. It's just a bit strange to see now because we're not used to it. It's just like, what is this? It's a gig. I don't know what I'm seeing. I don't know how to process it. So the situation is different in America. The rioting and the looting, obviously, that's completely wrong. But the protesting, not quite as risky, still risky, but not quite as risky as here right now. And seeing some of the scenes that we've been watching, and some people have got masks on, but some people have been pulling them off. It's like, oh gosh, guys, come on, we've got to do this safely. So I think that the call to do our own doorstep protest was something that we could get on board with, and something that we could do, as I say, safely from home. So if you saw that going up, that is why, and I hope that you understand why. And so I wasn't laughing at that. I was laughing at Rob Wong saying we need an OTC quad biking reunion. Oh, that would be very cool. I think the other reason I didn't want to go too deep, although I think I've gone very deep right now. I hope it's okay. Rob, what do you think of what we said? Rob did an incredible job on his show, and he's talked about it in the last show as well. Sam's given a part of his show to talking about it as well, and I think that's the key point. We need to talk. We need a discussion. We've been watching Chris Purchase. He's been saying very similar things. Steve Shives, somebody I watch on YouTube a lot, didn't necessarily entirely agree with everything he said, because he was saying, to all the people going out there risking your lives, thank you. But again, I had to put in context there. he's in America. In America, restrictions have been lifted largely in many places. So again, it is different there than here. I've repeated that. Sorry, apologies. But I didn't want to go too deep because Rob was talking about it, and I stopped and listened very intently with the song he played. So he was talking on his show about a live performance at the Brits by Dave, not the TV channel, in 2020, and he'd actually changed some of the words in that song as well, to be more contemporary to the issues now. So you mentioned about Grenfell, and people in Grenfell are still looking to be rehomed all these years later. This is 2020, and some of them are still waiting. And yeah, very, very powerful song. And Rob was recommending going on YouTube. So I haven't posted it yet because that's reaching my multitasking limit, being able to sort of post on multiple social media and get ready for my radio show. But I will be posting that after the show, having another listen to it. Very powerful. Some bits upsetting, but again, it's one of these situations where not talking about it isn't really helping. And I know some people have been very vocal, sort of too far the other way. If you don't say anything, you're taking the side of the oppressor. Well, yeah, I understand that. I empathise with that, but yeah, I think just open conversation now. We don't want to go too far to either extreme of the spectrum here, with everybody's emotionally charged right now, and yeah, well, I'll say it. I myself, in showing the concerns that I've talked about now, I hope in a level way, even I had my post taken down. And that struck me because I thought, but in that post I was saying about how awful things were that had happened. And so by silencing my concerns, which I thought were valid concerns about mass gatherings, they also silenced my opportunity to show my solidarity with the people who'd been affected by these recent events that have been so awful. And I just thought, I don't know, is this irony? Because I've been silenced for trying to speak out about something. And I thought, am I now getting a small taste of what it feels like? Because I've been silenced. I've been muted, And yeah, it did really get to me over the weekend, didn't it, Producer Mum?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's because you always think of yourself as quite level-headed as a scientist. And
try
think
to be.
and research things before you speak out about anything. So you have to feel quite deeply about something. And you're also a person that believes a lot in fairness. So you don't like what you see as being unfair. And yeah, the manipulation of news is unfair. And that's why we need to speak out. I mean, that's what's been so horrific when we heard about everything being closed down so that people couldn't speak to each other in America. And we've got so used to social media as being a means to do it. And I think in lockdown, people have spoken out, let's say spoken out, but spoken to each other more. And often been more open and shared their lives more, but often at a more personal level than before. So yeah, it's become, we've realised the importance of being able to talk to each other that perhaps we'd missed out on before, being too insular then. But once you realise that your world is inside a small space, then you feel the need to reach out more.
Yeah. So that's got quite deep. Again, I'm not laughing at the events. It's just So again, some of us laugh and some of us then worry about laughing. So flip, I laughed inappropriately there. But no, for some of us, it's just a way of sort of. It's our body just releasing the sort of, things are getting deep. And I don't normally, as I say, I was saying I wasn't going to get deep on the show, and then I have anyway. But the conversation's gone that way.
So that will the Rusty Shackle track in any way link?
That's what's really weird. again, this tenuous track title tour is just linking titles of songs together. I never actually sort of link it to what I'm saying normally, but I don't actually know if all the lyrics will line up, so I won't make a claim that the lyrics work in any way, shape, or form. But they may do, because by coincidence, by weird coincidence, they often do. But the track is actually called, I'm going to play it now, and very shortly speak to Ross Cooper as well, in a little bit on the show, technology willing. But the track by Rusty Shackle is called, weirdly, Stolen Letters. I do feel like when my post was taken down, whether it was because somebody complained, maybe impassionately, maybe because my words were less tactful than they could have been, but not really appropriately because they can't have read my post properly if it had been somebody who complained and that's why it was taken down, or whether Facebook automatically took it down because what has happened with a few posts at the moment is that anybody mentioning protests were actually having their posts taken down for unrelated. This is something to do with a couple of weeks ago, and in general protests in America because of a certain person that we all know and love, and don't really love. Just in case the sarcasm wasn't obvious, yeah, he did some awful things this week as well. But what people have been finding is that their posts have been taken down if they've mentioned those protests as well. So it's just that they're trying to do the right thing, Facebook, by taking things down, but it's automatically taking things down with certain keywords, and then so mine might have just been a casualty of that. I don't know. Who knows? There we are. Rusty Shackle and Stolen Letters. Whoa, deep. Very deep. Hi to Sam and Non, who have been watching the live stream as well. Right. Whew. Sorry. That's the deepest I think I've ever gotten a radio show, but I mean... And this song, the lyrics actually really do work. Oh, hi, Annette. Oh, that's great. It's great that you tuned in. Sorry if I sound a bit down. If you've just joined the video stream, I just had a very deep moment on air. Way deeper than I've ever gone on any radio show before. So yeah, if you can't hear the music, you need to go to offthechartradio.co.uk, put that on in the background, watch the video, and you'll hear the music and then this as well. But it might be out of sync. That's the only thing. I don't know how in sync it's going to be. I don't know. I think those lyrics did overlap, quite a lot. Okay, let's get on with the tenuous track title tour then. That was Rusty Shackle and Stolen Letters. Let's hope for different letters in the coming days, eh? Positive words. Just gonna phone Ross.
Hello?
Hello, Shamey.
Hello, how's it going?
Yeah, good. You okay?
Yeah, good man. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm running a bit late. Hello. To be expected, I suppose. I should probably always add 20 minutes on to when I'm doing things. I'm just going to play one more song and then bring you on air, if that's okay.
Yeah, man, that's fine. So will you phone me again, or will we just stay on this?
I can keep you on if your battery's all okay, if you don't mind. I got free. Huh?
If you want to like re-phone me, that's okay.
Okay, I'll do that then. I got free phone calls either way, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, you choose.
Okay, I'll give you a ring in about 3 minutes.
Cool, man, all good.
Okie doke. Chat to you in a sec. Oh, well, not a sec. That's a Welsh thing. Now in a minute. Yeah. It's
No worries, pal. Cheers.
right. So, kind of full behind the scenes experience on the video stream right now. Stereophonics and The Bartender and the Thief. So that's where we're going. Rusty Shackle, Stolen Letters, and Stereophonics, The Bartender and the Thief. That's where I'm going with that. Hello to Annette, and hello to Dave as well, if he's there in the background. They're tuned in and just sent me a message, and all I love to you as well. And we're going to go on with this track, which is... We've had The Bartender and the Thief, so we've got multiple things going on all at once here. We've gone, oh, hang on, you've got letters, stolen, thief. It's like some sort of cryptic puzzle going on. But we're going on to this band. I'll talk more about them in a bit. But this track is called Still Drunk in the Morning. And making me reminisce about live gigs. When I used to do my Sunday show live on Off the Chart Radio 6-7 years ago and before. But up to 6 years ago when the station closed last time. Because Off the Chart Radio pop-up will be ending soon. We all knew it was going to, but we've got a few more weeks left, about 2.5 weeks. But yeah, I used to do a gig on Sunday night in Swansea, which is close, but it's still half hour's drive away, and then leave the gig early to do my radio show. So it was great for the radio show. I got a free plug for the radio show. Because when I waltzed off halfway through the second half, the band had to tell the audience why I was going. Henry Martin's Ghost it was, by the way, if you wanted to know. Who actually featured recently on Hitched at Home, the Channel 4 TV programme. So if you want to get on to whatever it's called for Channel 4, 4OD, is it still called that? I can't remember. All of the apps for watching again have changed, and I can't keep up with it all. But if you want to watch Channel 4 online, Hitched at Home, it's Fred Sirius from the First Dates programme. The person who runs the restaurant in First Dates, and he's been on tour with George and, George? I know why I said George, sorry. The chefs are on tour. Gino DiCampo and Gordon Ramsay. Thank you, Brain. Got there in the end. And, he did a dream wedding for two people who, I think, they were living in London, obviously stuck at home, due to be getting married, got together a team of people to put on a dream wedding at home whilst staying within the regulations of lockdown. It was an incredible achievement. Really lovely, intimate thing. But yeah, Henry Martin's Ghost appears. Well, at least Patrick Lawler appears. You can hear Jill in the background. I'm sure it was Greg's foot stomping as well. Don't know if Peter was playing. But yeah, it was great. But yeah, anyway, Patrick got more and more annoyed week on week. She's like, yeah, you're bogging off to do your radio show again, aren't you? Yep. Never missed it, except for the odd week where I was on holiday and the time we broke down. And I was only about 5 miles from home, but I knew I was never going to get back in time. Even if I started walking there and then. Probably would have got home just in time for the end of the show. Anyway, yeah, this track is called Still Drunk in the Morning. I'll play you a little bit of that. Get us in the mood for our interview with Ross Cooper, who's going to be joining us on air very shortly. Hello again. Right, I'm gonna plug you into the desk, and then that should. Let me try that actually. Yeah. Okay. So if I turn the speaker off, the only thing I'll be able to hear you through the desk. Can you hear me now? Okay, that's coming through. Good. Right. I'll try and talk loud because I've got the phone pointed towards me. Yeah, I talk louder normally when I'm on air anyway. So I've got about a minute 40 to go. And then from now I won't be able to hear you. So if you say anything, I'm not ignoring you. Yeah. Okay. I'll try and give a countdown as well because you won't be able to hear the music either. I've just realised, but. Okie doke. Yeah, I managed to get Strictly Sambuca lined up, and it actually fits in with the Tenuous track title tour as well, so I'm chuffed with that. I know I talked over quite a bit of that, but I'm not going to talk over the next track by this band. That was just to kind of get us in the mood, have some background music by the brilliant Pete Bog Fairies, and that was Still Drunk in the Morning. Will you still be drunk in the morning, Ross, after all these beers you've been having on the patio? Yeah. Sorry, just checking. The lead's gone a bit weird. Can you hear me now? There we go. So, Ross Cooper's joining us on now, who plays fiddle with the Pete Bog Fairies. I say plays, that sounds like an understatement because I've seen you playing live. You bounce around that stage, it's incredible to watch. And, sorry, go on. How's it going with the band? Obviously not right now because I'm guessing things have all come to a stop. But what have you been doing recently? Because last time I saw you was in Aberystwyth, I think, wasn't it? When I was playing with Thistledown, we were playing before you with Thistledown.
At a standstill as you may think, because we're actually in the midst of recording our new album,
Oh, that's
which we're
fantastic to hear.
yeah, we're doing it in a different way than we've done in the past, and actually fits in with the lockdown thing quite well because we're recording it in our own homes really, and sort of sharing ideas online and sending stuff to each other and kind of doing it that way, which can be a little bit of a slower process, but it's great that you can kind of constantly and slowly work on it rather than having to do it all in one burst while you're together. So gigging, yeah, that's taken a massive hit as everyone else's has, but productivity, we're kind of going away at it, just putting things together as we are.
I mean, I guess the huge advantage, it's great to hear that, but it's the huge advantage, I guess, is everything's on stop, so, or at least going slow. So the pressure from the people who'd normally be releasing the album is a little bit less because, you know, they're not in the office, I presume.
Well, no, this is it. You know, I mean, we had a release date in mind, but when and we were on course, but it's just with this happening, it's actually maybe even giving us a little bit of time to take even more care over it and make sure that we deliver a really good studio album, and it'll be the first one for a few years now, and the last one was well received, so it'll be nice to follow it up with something properly worthy, and we're looking forward to showing people what we've been up to.
And I've got a couple of albums to catch up on as well, because I went to look for the track and I couldn't find it at first, and I thought, but I bought loads of albums, but again, that was way back when. I think I've missed a couple since then as well. I've definitely missed Dust, and I've missed another one in between. There's another live one I haven't got, I think, as well. So yeah, I've got catching up to do. I apologise.
Oh, not at all, my goodness. No, there was Dust, and then there was that was a studio album. Then Black House was a studio album, and then we've released Live at 25 album since that one. So yeah, you've got a couple of man, but don't stress yourself. It's all grand.
I know there was one band at a festival. I think they had about 7 CDs. I said, you put me in a quandary now because I normally buy all of the CDs that are available because I can't choose between them. And they went, yeah, that's fine. I said, yeah, I know, but I can't afford to buy all 7. But not all at once anyway. But I was notorious at Gower Folk Festival for sort of almost clearing out the stall. I'd come back with like a stack of 20 CDs, which is great, you know. Because I always used to think, is it that I'm not buying CDs because I don't like music? What's wrong with me? But no, it's just I don't like music enough to not all types of music equally. Then folk music, yeah, I'd fill the house.
Sure.
Yeah.
And good for you, because it's great when people still buy CDs from bands, because it's only possible to make these things financially if people are still buying hard copy at gigs, which thankfully they still do. But online, like the streaming thing, has sort of ruined things a little bit, but it's got its plus points, and also, you know, with the proper things like Apple streaming and what used to be iTunes downloads, but I believe that's even gone now. But you know what I mean. There's various ways of doing it, but buying CDs from bands at gigs makes these things possible, because without that, it just would not be financially possible, pretty much.
And I prefer getting hard copies anyway. There's something tangible about something, obviously, because it's tangible. It's a CD. But yeah, I think that's what it is. And when you download something, it's just, boom, it's there. And that's great. If you want the music, that's great. But I like buying a CD. I like actually sort of looking through the cover and reading what's on there. And the act of putting it on, it's replicating records which I kind of missed. I'm going back in time, being anachronistic and buying vinyl now. I love the idea of buying modern vinyl by bands. It's only just being produced. It's not old vinyl, it's new vinyl. I love that. But I missed all of that.
Yeah, well, a CD lasts, like 45 minutes to maybe, 60, 70 minutes or something like that. But you can get much more time out of it if you sit there and like read the sleeve notes and just make an afternoon of it. It's brilliant. I love doing that. Good for you.
Yeah. And of course, it's hard to sign an MP3 as well.
Indeed.
So, well, how do things sort of come together in the band now? Because I guess you got, there'd be a huge back catalogue that the Peat Bogs have got, and as a whole. But how does it come together when you're putting that show on the stage? How do you decide what parts are going where? And because it was so dynamic watching everybody, I don't know how. I think my brain would just start oozing out of my ears if I had to remember all of that. So I'm guessing there's a lot of dynamic stuff goes on, and people queuing each other in and.
Well, it's when you see the final thing on stage, you'd be surprised at how the Peat Bogs material begins, because it pretty much will start with me or Peter bringing a tune to the band. And then Ennis or Tom, Ennis Hutton, who's our bass player, and Tom, who's our guitarist. But Ennis also plays the guitar extremely well, and so they'll sit down and they'll get their chords together. So it's kind of like a ground up thing. So you'll start with like the tune, and then you'll have the chords will get built in on top of that. So it really quite often starts off sounding reasonably sort of folky and acoustic, kind of like you would hear maybe in a session or something, just kind of finding the way of the chords, and then you'll kind of not pick a genre, but like you'll pick like a kind of a vibe for the tune, see what fits it, and then things get built in on top of that. Graham Stafford, our keyboard player, amazing with coming up with sounds and keyboard parts, and builds whole worlds of stuff around tunes. And then Stu Hackney, the drummer, is just unbelievable for nailing down a beat that he knows will get people going and also that suits the tune. So it's kind of like a ground up thing, whereas I think some people might presume that it kind of starts off heavy and you add a tune in. It really comes from the tune and up, from a pretty quiet beginning to what you end up seeing on stage, really.
I guess that's answered that's answered the question brilliantly then, because in a way I've been in two worlds. I had that opinion first. I was like, how are they doing all that? How are they fitting all those bits in? But that actually makes a lot more sense to my brain now. It's not oozing anymore.
Yeah, no,
it's not steaming anymore. But it's that makes a lot of sense, and the feeling that it creates is incredible, because it's like a sort of fantasy idea of mine that we could have like a folk nightclub. I'm not sure if that would really work in real life anyway, but...
a folk nightclub? Well, I'm sure you could try it. I tell you, there's since this lockdown thing, and actually beyond that, there's a guy called Paddy Callahan, who's an amazing melodeon player here in Glasgow, and he does like a folky DJ night where he'll play, I suppose, anything from Peat Bogs, Treacherous, from those kind of loud, kind of banging type sort of bands, but like right on to like straight trad and stuff, and he mixes it up, and that's actually a brilliant night when he starts doing that. But I think for us the important thing is that when you're building a tune is that it all comes from the tune, as I was saying to you there. So you start with the tune, you don't start with the bangingness kind of thing. That kind of develops on top of the tune so that it's a properly organic sort of process. So you're not just sticking two things together, it's growing from this one place, you know what I mean?
So in a sense, you've all got the tune in your head, running all the way through, just bringing different parts in and things. Yeah, but that makes a lot more sense to me because it's demystified it a bit now. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. Maybe I shouldn't have asked.
No, it's grand, man.
It's too late now. Seen behind the magician's curtain now. But yeah, no, it's been brilliant to just watch you and hear you and everything, and listening to that track again now. I just played Still Drunk in the morning because I thought, I don't know how I'm quite going to get this to work with the Tenuous Track title tour, but I think we have with the next track. But before I play that, you've been talking about the tunes, and you've been playing tunes yourself online as well, doing a little online session.
Oh yeah, okay. So you were asking about this before, and it's kind of had this idea that it's not a absolutely unique idea, but it's since lockdown there's been a lot of emphasis on like tuition, so people will like go online, including for myself and Tom Oakes, which is the other act I play with, duo with Tom Oakes, and we've had teaching days and stuff, but there's been a lot of tuition and then like online performances, like sort of like gigs, and I thought it would be nice if people had someone just sitting there playing some tunes so that they could play along like you're in the pub kind of thing, so people can join in, and I thought that would be nice. So basically I recorded somewhere around, I can't remember, was it 37 or 38 tunes, just in a really like lo-fi, just with the phone, sitting there in my flat, just playing some standards, so that folk could just kind of sit and turn it on and pour themselves a drink and just play along in a kind of a session vibe. So that's what I was going for with that,
Yeah, I know Mum did say to me, she wanted me to come on air and have the fiddle ready and play one of your tunes back to you, which I'd love to have done. But, yeah, again, just too much multitasking. I've already got too much going on. If I tried to do that as well, I'd probably forget to push a button.
I can't multitask at all. I'm holding the phone to my head right now and talking, and that's as good as I can do.
And yet we both play the violin. Both play the fiddle.
Well, there you go.
That's what I don't... That's one of the things I often grapple with, though, seriously. It's such a complex thing. I know, you just learn over several years of cat strangling to not cat strangle anymore. But and it's hard then to get that across when other people ask you, because I found that I've only done the odd workshop, but people ask you, how do you do this? And you genuinely have to think, I don't know. I just do it now because, it just...
Yeah, but one of the great things about what we do and any musician does is that you're always learning, and teaching is one of the best ways of learning, because you have to pick apart what you've already done and then pass it on. Thinking of how to do that on the spot is sometimes a little bit hard, but yeah, no, you have to do it, and it helps anyone's playing doing that. So teaching's a brilliant thing for the learner, like the sort of perceived learner, and then for the teacher, they're learning as well. So it's great.
Yeah, and even little things that I thought were throwaway things. I thought, I just do a little, I just do this here, move the bow in this way. And people were all watching. It was quite funny. They're all like their eyes starting to pop out, almost like I was some sort of guru or something, which I'm definitely not, especially not in a Esteemed Company right now. But yeah, it was quite funny. It was just like, I just do this. How do you do that? It's like, okay.
I don't know.
I'm exaggerating, but they weren't quite. It wasn't like a Hollywood film. Everybody sat around in a circle. Well, they were sat around in a circle, but it is quite fascinating when you pick it apart. I didn't realise I was doing that. Oh yeah, I suppose that was deliberate. Yeah.
Yeah, and then over time things just end up happening, and you don't know where you've picked it up from, and that's another great thing you can practice sort of to your heart's content. But you need inspiration, and you pick up things from your heroes and your pals. I mean, especially like here in Glasgow, my God, go out and play music, and you're just surrounded by so many amazing musicians, and they're all your pals, and they're always really giving, and you see somebody doing something and you ask them how they've done that, and you just pick up things over time and create your own style, really, just borrowing bits and pieces from here, there and everywhere. So that's it.
I've seen some awesome videos of sessions and just wished I could have been there. And some people local to me have gone up, and I think one of them studying up there. One of our Fiddle Festival buddies, Dylan Cairns Howarth, has been up there, I think, studying. So he's been to a lot of the sessions.
Yes,
And,
no, Dylan, a
yeah.
fantastic fiddle player. Yeah, I know him very well. A great guy, and oh my God, a tremendous player. Fired up to hell player, and
Gosh,
yeah,
yeah.
lovely.
But also, I realised that up that way as well, whether it's Glasgow itself, I'm not sure. But again, like the folk nightclub idea, there's another merger that sounds like one of those things that's like a bit of a joke somebody's made up just to make me go, oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I bet it doesn't really exist. It does. The Science Ceilidh Band.
The what? Sorry?
There is a Science Ceilidh Band.
The Science Ceilidh Band.
They teach science through Ceilidh.
Excellent. Well, that sounds like an excellent evening.
It does. Well, it sounds like it shouldn't work, but it does. I've watched videos of it, and it's really cool. It is really good. It's like they had at Fire in the Mountain, which have been doing an online festival this weekend as well, or last weekend maybe it was. They do gigs every so often anyway, online. But they had, I remember getting involved in the Ceilidh, and that was like a proper dance Ceilidh. Not with folk music. It was dance music.
Great.
Like proper high BPM dance music, and I just thought, yeah, but it worked. It was like a techno trance Ceilidh, but yeah, there's all these fusions going on.
There's nothing to stop those two worlds from coexisting and existing together. It's a great and wonderful thing.
No, exactly. And I mean, there's a band I know, Terrafolk as well, from Slovenia. They came over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're brilliant. Oh, I was so sad because hardly anybody went to see them because they thought it was a heavy metal rock band. A heavy metal death metal band, and I had a letter through the door saying this may be more applicable to your generation. And I'm not an ageist. I've mixed with all ages, especially folk clubs. You don't see age in a folk club. You're everybody from teenagers to, ages 8 to 80, like it used to say on game boxes, and outside that as well.
That's right.
So I was just like, why is this person who, for relevance of the story, was significantly older than me, but why are they pointing this out? I'm confused. What's going on? It's a folk band.
I saw
they didn't get it.
I saw those Terrafolk guys one time in Sweden a lot of years ago, and they were bloody brilliant. Gee whiz, the players in the band, my God, they're just virtuoso, and and there was 8 to 80 there, and the place was rammed, and they totally blew the roof off. So fair play to them.
And that's what they do, is they do You Are My Sunshine, but as a metal song, to prove that if you can do it one way, you can do it the other way. So it's like, don't judge all metal. So it's quite ironic, really. This person thought they were like a death metal band and judged them and didn't go, not knowing they were actually a folk band, whereas they were very deliberately trying to prove the exact opposite, saying, don't knock all metal songs, because underneath all of that can be, not always, but can be a really good structure, really good harmonies, really good melodies, really good everything, and it does get lost sometimes. I think when people do dance music and over-processed music, you realise things get lost. Stornoway. So I'm going to do a bit of a rant now, but Stornoway doing The Only Way Is Up. I never knew all those lyrics were in there, even though it's a dance classic. But I just never heard the lyrics. You just don't hear them, and there's such meaningful, deep lyrics in that song.
Yeah. No, man, it's just sometimes it just takes two worlds to collide to realise that it's all great. It's all great.
It really is. It really is. So I've just had a look on your page now, and a few artists are doing this, obviously, because everybody's going through the same situation in terms of, particularly full-time artists. I'm lucky and unlucky in some ways, I suppose. I won't say unlucky. I'll rephrase that. But I'm lucky that I'm not depending on the music for income, whereas a lot of people are. So we've got, if you want to go on to www.paypal.me/Ross Cooper1, I'm going to have to spell that properly. So Ross and then COUPER with a 1 on the end. You can donate to Ross's tip jar there. And
that's very kind of you, Jamie. Cheers, man.
And I'll try and put a link to that up on my page, and see if I can talk nicely to the station manager again, see if we can put a link up to the sessions. That'd be quite cool. I don't know. We may or may not be able to do that depending on how many shows have come after mine. No,
that's okay. But just to say that was just, I was looking for something to do in the flat, and I just thought it would be a nice thing to do. I put the tip jar thing up there because, as you say, yeah, sure, hard times, but really that was just if it was the equivalent if somebody was at the pub and you're in the session and they fancied buying you a pint, something like that. It was just a wee thing just to have up there, but it's there for people to enjoy, and it's there for free if that's how they fancy doing it. So, just to say that.
No, it's good to point that out. So I didn't mean to make it sound like you have to pay to go on it. No, but
Don't worry, it's fine.
You're right. People would buy you a pint, and we can't do that. So this is like the virtual way of doing that. But yeah, me and Mum and Dad ended up getting roped into a festival because I was doing an interview with Nick Garner from the Isolation Festival, and it was just meant to be an interview, and suddenly he said, "Oh, and you play as well." I was just like, "Yeah." You've probably had this happen to you as well. Do you fancy a slot? It's like, I was just asking about the interview. This isn't how this was meant to go. But we ended up playing on that, and again, everybody had tip jars on there. But I felt really guilty just because it was like, oh, and you can set up a tip jar, and I was just like, can we not? And then it sounded like I was trying to sort of throw it back. But it's it's not that. It's just like I don't need it. Give it to the other artists because they need it, you know.
I think the tip jar thing is really good, and I don't think any artist should apologise for it being there. I just, but it's there. It's there if people fancy doing it. It's sort of like a slight sort of gesture thing. But I mean, I've heard of one or two artists getting gypped from people about putting it up there. But to be honest, artists need to eat as well. So it's there, and if people are feeling like it can be done, and yeah. That's how we all need to bend to these times and just sort of invent new ways of doing things. So that's the way it is.
And that has been the great thing about, obviously, as I've said many times, so apologies if you've heard me say this exactly the same way on a previous occasion. It's we don't want this to have been the way it happened, but it has led to lots of innovation and people doing things in different ways, and it's been brilliant to see. And I'm looking forward to listening to the rest of those tunes and maybe playing along a little bit myself. Not while I'm on the radio, that was just too much for my brain to handle. But how can people find out more about you and your music that you do with Tom, and if they want to go online and find out more?
Okay, so everything is really... I do everything pretty much on Facebook, so you can go onto my personal Facebook, but actually, you know what, that's kind of getting a little bit full up now. So I do have a music one, so it's Ross Cooper Music, Ross and Couper, as you said before, Ross Cooper Music. That's my personal, my sort of solo Facebook music page, and then there's Facebook Ross and Tom, which is me and Tom Oakes, and then there is the Pete Bog Fairies, which if you search for any of these things on Facebook, you will find the pages. Just give it a wee like, and we'll try and keep our heads together and get that updated as we go.
And they won't need me to tell them the spelling of Pete Bog Fairies because it's up on the screen behind me if they're watching on the video stream, or if they're watching on the website, it'll come up on the text, so that'd be good. But yeah, I always spell everything longer than 4 letters because there's some radio adverts now. I'm thinking, okay, TV adverts, you don't have to spell things because it's on the TV. Generally, assuming people can see the TV, of course. You know, I'm glossing over things a bit there. But on the radio the other day, they said the company name. I was just like, and they just said, oh, just go on to www.soandsocompany.co.uk. Obviously, it wasn't so-and-so company because you can hear the syllables and that. But I was just like, I don't know what you just said. You've not spelt it. It's not a familiar word. What do you? Yeah. How are people just meant to? Or just search for us by searching blah. It's like, but and I'm going, this is a radio advert by a professional advert company, presumably. I'm just going, what?
Presumably, but you'd be amazed how the word professional is used.
I did giggle when there was a restaurant that said you had to get your bookings in for Christmas by November the 31st.
Oh, very good. Yeah. I definitely get them in before then. I thought, so.
Who wasn't taught the rhyme? Who doesn't know? All right, I get that you might forget it. All right, it's April, and is it September? I get that people might forget. That's fine. That's perfectly allowable. But you check the calendar. Sure.
Well, whenever I actually have to do that rhyme every time.
Oh, I have to as well, but
every single time. Yeah. Shocking.
30 days have September, April, June, and November. But I thought, who doesn't know that?
No, that's not
Yeah.
it, man. That's not it. No, I'm just joking. That is it.
Don't try to catch me out there. Would you like to introduce the next song?
Is this going to be the Pete Boggs one? Is it?
Yeah, and it links in. We've had The Bartender and the Thief by the Stereophonics. We've had Still Drunk in the Morning by, well, the Peatbog Fairies. But we're also...
Oh.
It's still staying on the theme.
Excellent. Well, I am presuming that this is the one that I was speaking to you about. This is a tune called Strictly Sambuca, which is written after a great weekend in Fort Augustus on the shores of Loch Ness, and it was put together for the Black House album. And thank you very much for playing it, man.
Thank you for joining me on air. It's been great to talk to you.
And you.
And all the best. And yeah, we're going to hear that now.
Cheers, man.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right, and if I do that, take my headphones off. Cheers for that. That was brilliant.
Nice one, Jamie.
Okay, I'll leave you. Get back to the beers or food or one or the other. It'll be my food soon. I always end up having to not have food because by the time food's ready, I've started on air.
Well,
Something's rolling at 10.
Thank you very much for asking me to do that, and I'll speak to you shortly.
All right, ciao for now.
Cheers, man. Bye-bye.
Ciao. Oh, sorry as well. If you watching on the video live stream, whilst I can't play the music, I do try and play all of the talking bits. So if it's me, mum and dad talking, or our guest on air, there was one button I forgot to turn up. So you won't have heard the first 20 seconds or so of Ross Cooper's interview there, but you'll be able to listen to it again on Mixcloud, and hopefully you caught most of it. So, yeah. On with the show. Onwards and downwards. Onwards and upwards. Oh, that does look like Dad's. A friend sent me a photo and it does look like Dad's beard. Right, so. Yeah, I'm live on air on offthechartradio.co.uk. If you can't hear the music, that's why. There's music playing right now. It's awesome music playing right now. Peatbog Fairies. What's not to like? Gonna have a bit of Journey and a bit of Levelers coming up. I was thinking, because visually... Well, okay, there's a bit going on behind me, but visually it's just me looking back and forth at the screens if I'm not talking. But... there's another reason I can't really show you what's going on my radio station screen, because if I do that, there's a weird arcane radio rule that you're not meant to forward announce the tracks that you're playing. So if I showed you my on-air screen on the internet, I'd effectively be streaming what I was about to play next. You're not allowed to do that; it's against the rules. So. Okay. What time is it now? Gotta always check. Oh yeah, they're in sync now. Because the computer that I do the actual audio stream from on the radio show has a habit of losing the time. I think maybe the battery's going on the motherboard. Actually, I should check that. But yeah, it's the right time now. It's just 9:23. There we go. Fun. Yeah. There we go. It's updated behind me with the album cover. Very cool when it works. Such people feel free to message me. I haven't checked my email though. Nobody's emailed. Just saying, Aaron Glover's just messaged me and said that scene was one of my faves, but I couldn't look at the Facebook at the same time as doing all that stuff for the interview, so just replying now. And he meant the Stereophonics one, so I was just like, the Peat Bog Fairies are awesome, but I didn't think he meant them. Great fiddle tunage going on. Do you want to try the mics out? Go on the mics, I should say, and not trying them out. I'm definitely in the festival mood after that. Peat Bog Fairies. I'll spell it anyway, just in case you've put your screen away, like I just did, because I had to put the social media away while I was multitasking and everything else. Peat Bog, as in like a peat bog, like a bog. Peatbog, and then Fairies, Faeries, not like the liquid. And Strictly Sambuca. And Aaron Glover saying, reminds me of a random Glastonbury stage at 4 a.m. in the morning. Well, yeah, tracks like that are what festival mean to me. Obviously, if you go to Hard Rock Hell, then, heavy rock is what festival means to you. But a track like that is like the epitome of festival. This makes me feel like festival. This is festival. And but there's every possibility that it really was the actual Peat Bog Fairies on stage at 4 a.m. at Glastonbury. I should have asked Ross, really, before he went, shouldn't I, Producer Mo?
You should have, definitely.
Yeah, but he was saying the Phonics track, he really liked Bartender and the Thief, one of his favourite tracks there. So glad you enjoyed that, Aaron. And we're going to carry on after we've heard what you think, Producer Mum and Dad, of chat with Ross. Because, unfortunately, the way I had it set up, I couldn't bring you in. Or I could, but he wouldn't have heard you. So
no, I wanted to hear him,
Well, that's true.
Because it's nice when people have got a genuine passion for music and they want to talk about the music and explain the music, and you feel that. But when they, as you said, we have only seen them in Aberystwyth, and because basically most of the festivals they've been at have been at times when you could only have certain time off work anyway, and then before that, Dad could only have certain time off work, so it just didn't work out. But that makes the memory of the night then more special to us. And I couldn't get over how the energy level just built up. He said about the level of the song building up from the acoustic at the beginning, but the whole room was going along and the same thing was happening. It was absolutely incredible. And then afterwards, they were so welcoming to people. They went round the back, and that's the thing you didn't say about with the CDs. You also get to meet the band and to talk to them, and they take so much time and trouble when they're talking with people. It's lovely. There's no, with some bands there's just no them and us. You feel as if they've been a part of the room, almost like they were standing up in the audience and playing with you. And I wondered at some point during their concert whether that's where they'd end up, because they were bouncing about on the stage so much. But also that the audience is being pulled in. It's all this incredible experience to see bands like that. It's wonderful.
I know what he means, though. I said he jumped around, but no, he doesn't. He doesn't necessarily jump around. He said, "I just play the fiddle. No, I can't. Otherwise, I'd break it." But no, I know what he means. I didn't quite mean he jumped around, but he does walk around the stage and sort of,
No, but it bounces.
They walk towards each other and they bounce off each other, and it's a dynamic thing. But there was one band I did actually see bouncing and jumping around, and I've never seen anything like it before or since. A band called Barrage, which I got to see on a school trip. Again, very, very lucky that my violin teacher, hello Helen, if you're listening, I don't know if she is, I haven't told her about the show, but she was a folkie before I knew that there was such a thing as a folkie. I just thought, I took it for granted in school that we had a choir and we had a string group and we had a folk group. I just thought, it's just a part of the school orchestra activities, not realising, not even in countries that are a lot more cultural, a lot more. I shouldn't say that about Wales. I apologise. That's not quite how I meant it. What I mean is countries where you'd stereotypically expect that it would be far more rooted, rather than like a bit of an uphill push, maybe to get it back in to schools in certain areas of the world, perhaps. You think it was just there already, and they've never heard of a folk group in school, whereas here in Pontardawe in South Wales we had our own folk group in school. I thought that was awesome, and not only did that, but we benefited, of course. I'm talking about Martin Ellis, so it's on my mind, but also Ivan Price, Jack Ado, very well known in these parts, used to come in and donate their skills and time, and I don't know if they were paid. I have no idea, but they used to come in for folk club, folk group, and teach us tunes. And I it's not so much that I took it for granted at the time, but I didn't realise how rare it was, how special it was. And then one of the orchestra school trips, rather one of the folk club school trips, but there was a lot of overlap because we were all, the people who were in the folk group and the string group were also in orchestra. and some of us were in choir as well. So we got taken on a school trip to go and see a Canadian folk band in Stroud, I think we went to, if I remember rightly. But in Barrage was Natalie McMaster before I knew who she was, and Natalie McMaster signed my Barrage, like the leaflet that came with the gig. So I got to meet this great fiddle player, and but again, there was no them and us, so you wouldn't have known from meeting her there that, because people don't behave like that in folk anyway. It tends to not be a thing in folk so much. There is no them and us. Everybody talks to you like you're a human being, because everybody is a human being at the end of the day. That's kind of the point. But you'd never tell, oh, this was some huge person. Even when Martin Simpson was talking to me on Off the Chart Radio, he was chatting to me just like Bob Harris, just chatting to me like I knew him from down the road. It's only when they walk away and you go, oh my gosh, I just spoke to them. It's weird, isn't it? The way our brains play tricks on us in a way, don't they? With this whole not knowing what to say to celebrities thing. We've talked about this before, haven't we, Producer Mum? Hello?
I was just saying Dad to speak to you.
Right. All right. What's Dad's story?
He's actually out of the kitchen.
No, I was just going back to Ross Cooper.
Yeah.
When we went backstage in Arbor, and first thing he said was, "Oh, how's the bread?"
Yeah.
He remembered me straight away. I was chuffed a bit for that.
I had the same feeling in a way recently, because I've talked a little bit about my investigations of Twitch. No, I'm not investigating them. It's not a Panorama documentary. I've been trying to get into it, trying to work out how it works, and really struck by how there is a really strong community feeling in these groups. And I thought, all right, well, while I'm on here then, as I've finally made it over, even though Twitch has been going for 10 years, it's a gaming video streaming thing, and what you'll often have, again, I'm aware I'm stereotyping here, but for people who aren't familiar with Twitch, what you often have is like, the person playing the game will be in the bottom corner on a camera showing, they're talking to you and they're playing the game, and you watch the game in their background, if you like. And that's why it never appealed to me before, because I thought, why would you want to watch somebody else playing a game? I want to be the one playing the game. But that's not what it's about at all. It's about getting involved in the chat and maybe seeing things in games you haven't seen before, or getting to see previews, effectively, of games that you haven't seen before. It's like a radio show. It plays you music that you don't necessarily own, and then hopefully, if you like some of it, Pete Frog Fairies, hint, hint, I'll be going to look on the CDs I haven't got later, you will buy that music yourself after having heard it on the radio show. So actually, Twitch is more like radio than I gave it credit for. And quite often, I'll have it on in the background when I'm doing other things. I'll have it on the side screen, and it'll be like having a radio on to accompany me while I'm doing other things, while I'm doing work and whatever. It's actually really good. But the reason I bring it up now is because Frankie Ward, who was a former Uncharter many, many moons ago, and used to perform still does perform as Get Frank, and so she was presenting on another radio station. I featured her on the Unchart, and it's been years since we've actually spoken. And even when she was on the Unchart, I don't think we spoke that much. I sent a couple of emails back and forth. We're both busy people. Her a lot busier than me at the time. But I just messaged in the Twitch stream, and all I said was just something generic about the game. My name came up, of course, but I didn't give any priming. I didn't say, hi, it's been a long time, or anything like that. I just mentioned something about the game. And then straight back, Frankie said, hey, Jamie, how's the fiddle? How's the violin? I was just like, what? It's been like a decade. How do you even know what? Yeah, so yeah, I don't know, and it was really nice when Ross came up to us. Yeah, and he because also you're stuck in that situation where you don't know whether you should go up to somebody, because if they don't remember you, they might just think you're sort of hassling them or something. And so when they come up to you, it's really nice, isn't it? Or not?
Yeah, I didn't expect him to remember me. I expected him to remember you, but not me. But the bread song it, I think.
The bread made an impact.
Yeah, I think it did.
Yeah, we have to explain. It was the Fiddle Festival in Stackpole.
Fiddle Festival of Wales.
And they had kitchens down there.
Yeah.
And when it started off, people were bringing in. There was also an organic farm, which was a lovely idea. They had people there. Some people were learning difficulties, and you were getting a huge amount of pleasure out of producing the vegetables and things that were there. And there was a lovely communal spirit to that. And they then donated some of the vegetables to be cooked into these massive vegetarian stews and things that they did at the very beginning. It was all very communal. And then that inspired Dad to try out baking in a different oven, which is always an adventure.
But because they had a proper, huge industrial-sized oven there, this wasn't
Was it
like
an
your...
adventure, Shand?
Oh yeah, it was different. It was just very smaller scale. But when you do a job that you enjoy so much, you try anything.
Yeah, and it was really good. You made a fiddle one, yeah, out of bread, didn't you?
Yeah, on a wheat sheaf.
Yeah, I got a photo of that somewhere. Yeah. No, it was really good.
But it's strange how the smell of cooking bread can... they'll come in and looking in the door. Is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? and as the time was going on, it was also strange how Dad was getting more and more covered in flour. That's what I remember. That's how
Yeah.
you knew how close he was to actually having finished it, was when there was more flour in the loaf than there was on him.
Yeah, quite. I remember that. I often wonder as well, is that why, have baker's whites? Because the flour just, you don't see the flour on them, I don't know. Unlike lab coats, because lab coats tend to be very bright white, and
Yeah, well, if
anything you get on them you can see. But that's good, because you should see spills. That tells you that you're being clumsy with your work, I guess. But
If you baked in black, wouldn't look so right, would it?
no, it would just be like,
Dusty Miller.
or you'd look like you'd be in some sort of weird paintball tournament, I guess. But I don't know. Yeah, so we were talking about making stuff. That fits in really well, because I've got a slightly more tenuous than normal link on the Tenuous Track Title Tour, because we've got Peatbog Fairies and Strictly Sambuca, and so I was looking for synonyms, words that mean the same as Strictly. And also, because I've been doing computer coding for the last few months, that's now my job, is doing software engineering. So Strict... If you've used Java and you've used other programming languages, C# and all that, yeah.
C#?
If you don't know about programming languages, I'm talking gobbledygook right now. But Strict is in that. So when I saw Strict come up, I thought, my brain didn't know whether I was doing a radio show or programming. But other words for Strict, Strict can mean harsh. So I did find a track that had harsh in the title, but it didn't really work. It was a great track, but it wasn't quite the right direction I wanted to go in. I had nowhere to go after it, because the Tenuous Track Title Tour has to continue after this track somehow. And then I thought, another way of expressing Strictly is that something's been faithfully reproduced, because you've been strict about it. So it's been strictly created according to certain rules. So I've gone from Strictly to Faithfully. Of course, I could have gone for Strictly Come Dancing, but I didn't do that. This is a song by Journey, which I haven't heard before. And it's called Faithfully. Hello, if you've just joined me in the video stream, by the way, I'm presenting a live radio show right now, and if you'd like to hear the music, if you'd like to hear the music as well, you can go to the radio station website, which is there, and then you'll hear the tracks that I'm playing. I can hear them. You shouldn't be able to, again, unless headphones are too loud. Bit of headphone leakage sometimes. It's like not much distance between me and the mic, but I've seen that somebody's just joined now, so welcome to you. And if feel free to send me a message by whichever, if you send me a message underneath wherever you're listening from, it'll pop up here. I've mastered this now. That's twice in a row. And I'll give you a shout out on the radio show. You can also email me at jamie@offthechartradio.co.uk. I don't know. Email seems to be dying out. When we were going full flow 6 years ago as a station, we'd get regular emails. Now, yeah, it's all about the social media now. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. Although I am planning to do some Twitch streaming, some dedicated Twitch streaming just on Twitch. Probably when OTC pop-up, Off the Chart Radio pop-up, winds down, which we've just been told today is going to be about June the 22nd, I think. 21st? A second? I'll check now. Yeah, we always knew it was a temporary thing. To be fair, station manager's paying out of his own pocket to keep this going for us, to keep us company, to keep us occupied during this lockdown. 22nd of June will be the last day of broadcast for the pop-up station. And what we're going to do, I don't know the exact schedule yet, but we're going to do something all together just to say goodbye to Off the Chart pop-up. But I think what's nice about it is it's paved the way for it to come back. I mean, I know when the station closed 6 years ago, I was just pretty upset. We all were. But I was raring to go. I wanted to get it going again. Now I'm sort of more mellow, busier. The key thing. So this has been nice. But it's been nice that it hasn't been intense as well. It's been nice to just do it as a pop-up. Do shows now and then, as and when we can. And I don't see any reason why we can't do that again, in the future. And it's just been really nice. Yeah. I wanted to let that guitar solo play out. Journey and Faithfully. I mean, we all know Don't Stop Believing. I'm not saying it's not a great track. It's a particularly popular track to blast out at the end of the night, very drunk, and do a very bad rendition of it, which is, a bit of a shame, really, because it's a great song, but it's been played rather a lot. I don't know about overplayed. Yeah, maybe it has been overplayed. But it means you don't get to hear all these other tracks, because all you know Journey for is Don't Stop Believing. And there's tracks like that. Well, unless you're a Journey fan. Or, you actually listen to music more than I clearly do, because people are probably shouting at me right now saying, what do you mean you don't know Journey? I know every track by Journey. Well, if you do, let me know what your favourite track is. jamie@offthechartradio.co.uk, or send me a message on social media. And I might not have time to play it tonight, but I'll definitely listen to it myself and let you know whether I enjoy it or not, because that's what this has been all about as well. I'm getting to explore my music collection with you. The great tracks and the slightly weird tracks. But no, this is where I was going to talk about things that I've already talked about now earlier on in the show, in terms of what's going on in the world right now. And some of these lyrics by the Levellers have a bit of an overlap as well. This is Levellers and Blind Faith. I think this is what I was referring to when we've got to a point now where we can't just sort of heads down in the sand and assume everything's going to blow over and all be okay. For various reasons. Check the email, see if anybody's taking me up on that. No. I'm just listening to this one by the Levelers. Me head bopping's a bit like you watching me at a silent disco, I know, but I'm gonna take a break from talking. Mike's. Star Sailor and Faith, Hope, Love. Before that, Levelers and Blind Faith. You can probably see where I was going there, but yeah, again, are you tired of living in the modern world? Yeah, quite a lot sometimes. So, started on a deep note, ended on a deep note. What do you think, producer Mum and Dad? What do you want to say to close the show?
You going to do it on time?
Yeah, my stomach's rumbling now. Yeah, when I've said this on previous shows, you must just think I eat lots or something. No, it's just that when our family food is ready is around about 8 o'clock, which is also when I'm on air. So I never get to eat before coming on air. I could stuff my face with a snack maybe, but that's going to be bad, because if I had a bag of crisps before coming on air, then there'd be crisps all over the mic, and I'd be like at the start of the show. So
But like usual then.
well, yeah, there haven't been any fires tonight. Last
true.
time on the show, there was a really strong smell of really horrible smelling smoke. If it's a lovely wood fire, okay, it might make me sneeze. That's just my nose for you. I react to everything: hay fever, perfume, the air. It'll set me off. That's fine. I get annoyed by the sneezing, but the last week the smoke was just like you could taste it immediately. It was down your throat. It wasn't a nice wood fire.
It's 'cause it's raining.
Yeah, that's true. It's put it out.
Eh.
The rain's good for something. So, what did you want to say to finish off?
Well, I'm going to say good night and God bless to everybody. I'm going to put your pizza in now.
You're going to put everybody's pizza in. That's very kind of you.
Yeah.
How many people are listening?
2?
Go- Well, yeah, actually, probably it's not gonna overdo the pizzas. Actually.
That was the conversation on the last
Good
show,
night,
wasn't it? About how many people might be listening.
Well, people have dipped in and out. I know it's getting quite late now here in the UK, so I understand that. But yeah, I had a little bit of a peek earlier. There were quite a few people tuned in on the video stream as well. And so yeah, I'm going to play the last track after last words from producer Mum and that creak from my desk, because I'm a total professional.
Any other creak? It could be my knees.
Could be my knees before long. I'm not that young anymore. I'm finding myself going, oh, aches and pains. Like, whoa, that's it. It's downhill from here.
I have to say the same as what a few people I know have said. What's weird about the rain is in Wales, we have had a lot of it usually. So it's been very, very strange to not have the rain. And then when it came, suddenly you were smelling the rain. You're going, oh, that's nice. That's fresh. That's great.
It's a real thing with real science behind it, the smell of rain.
Is it?
It's bizarre, but there is. I won't go deeply into it now, but there's a real sort of, there's been real deep scientific studies going on into why that happens. It is a real thing. It's not just like something our brains are making up. I suppose you could argue smells are, and sight and sound. Everything is ultimately our brain is synthesizing into what we experience as the conscious world. Well, I said there was no smoke, but maybe that made me sound like I had a little bit of a influence.
It's the folk. It's
the folk. Yeah,
it's the folk
High on
that does
folk.
it to you. Yeah, you can definitely you get a buzz out of folk, and especially if you see it live. So anybody that's listening, if you don't think of it as being one of these niche genres, which I think some people have that impression of folk. No, it's the most welcoming music. Not all bands. Some bands are perhaps doing very, very traditional things that involve singing in a way you may not have heard before. But get into it. Just sit back, listen, enjoy. You can really chill out to folk, or you can have the Peat Bog Fairies, where you may start off chilled and you end chilled because you've had this good experience, and everything in the world becomes beautiful just from the fact you become so engrossed in it all. And then afterwards everything is chilled because you're just kind of, wow, and without the aid of anything extra. It's
apart from possibly a nice cider if you're
a
that
nice
way inclined.
cider, yeah, that's true.
Or a mead, even better.
Oh my gosh,
do you love mead?
mead.
8 o'clock tomorrow, Tim Willett. Before that, from 7 p.m, Aaron Glover, who's been tuned into the show tonight. So thank you to Aaron. That's what I meant to say earlier. I didn't get a chance to say that. And 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, Sam and Joe are back for the morning show. So please do tune into those. Remember, time is now ticking away again. The clock is running.
On that
22nd
note,
of June.
On that note, Jim.
Yeah.
if you don't partake of anything alcoholic, you can still enjoy honey on toast.
That's very true.
I highly recommend it, and honey is very beneficial to you.
Alcohol-free mead on toast.
That's what it is, yeah.
So I'm going to finish off with this one. It's by Kraftwerk, and I think there was again, total professional. Yeah, I was going to play this. I was going to play some Kraftwerk a few weeks ago, and I just didn't get a chance to do it. But in dedication to Florian Schneider, co-founder of Kraftwerk, who passed away earlier this month, I wanted to play some Kraftwerk anyway. But then I played this. The track's called Computer Love, and I've talked about Computer Love on the show, and I've talked about getting into streaming and different methods of streaming and video streaming, and the Computer Love I've had to have in order to upgrade my computer and, revive an old hobby, because that always used to be a hobby. The problem is it's blooming expensive. If you build a little craft that costs you maybe £10 in materials, that still could be quite an outlay for some people. But that's £10. If you want to build a computer, you spend like £300, or at the moment prices are being hiked, so it's like £400, £500 maybe, and then you've built it. It's not like a craft that you can just keep doing as a hobby, because like I feel like now, I want to build another computer again, I have to stop myself, because that's going to cost me £500. What's the point? But I do miss, that's one good thing about working in the computer shop that I used to work in when I was a teenager. You did get to, in a way, do your hobby. But you had to be more responsible because it wasn't your computer you were working on, but you got to do that multiple times. Whereas when you build your own computer, really you can only afford to do it once, maybe twice. If you're an uber geek, you might do that a little more often. But I've got I've got 3 computers on the go, haven't I? 3 proper PCs on the go. One of them is sat on the shelf. One of them's been brought down off a shelf and is being my video streaming computer. And the other one is still doing my radio show that's been going for years. So I get the life out of them. I do keep them going as long as I can. But yeah, that's my computer love story. Okay, weird. But yeah, Kraftwerk and computer love. But if you recognise the motif in this song, I thought Coldplay copied it and they didn't tell anyone. No, actually they proudly included this motif and told everybody about it, so they didn't steal it. It is the motif from Coldplay's Talk, but the original version. So here's Kraftwerk and Computer Love to finish the show. Please do tune in tomorrow from 9 a.m. for Sam and Joe. Good night.
Good night, stay safe.
Sorry, I know I've not talked on my video stream. I found this with the last one as well when I watched it back. The last 10 minutes, just... That's it. Chilled out. Just listening to the music. Again, when I actually start doing devoted Twitch streams, I won't just leave long silences, but this is a bit unusual in that it's behind the scenes of the radio show, and it's very rare for people off air to be talking all the time. I mean, yeah, sure, if I had a co-presenter, I mean, I do have producer mum and dad, but if I had a co-presenter in the studio with me, yeah, you'd be talking all the time then. Obviously, the behind the scenes studio feed would be great, but if I had a presenter with me now, during lockdown, who wasn't a member of the household, no, that wouldn't be so good, would it? But yeah. I'm probably going to shoot off at the end of this song to have my food, because my stomach's rumbling. So, if you've stuck with this to the end, thank you very much. I can see that there's maybe the same one person stuck right to the last minute with the video stream. So if that's you, send me a hello. You can remain anonymous, that's absolutely fine too. But thank you for sticking with it, and I'll be back on Sunday actually, 11 no, that's my old show. Sunday from 8 PM to 10 PM, same time as this show, but on Sunday. Yeah. Any email? Let's have a look. No email. See if it hasn't gone to secondary by mistake. Might do things like that. Social promotions. Spam. I should always check the spam box as well. No. Nothing non-spammy in there. Oh, fantastic. I've got a 419 scam as well. Someone asking me for 100% risk-free. I can stand to make a lot of money because they've got 14.8 million pounds available in a bank here in the United Kingdom. Yeah, okay. Not falling for that. Not a chance I'm falling for that. That's just... Right, okay. There we go. So that's me done for another show. Thank you very much, especially if you stuck with me through the deep stuff. Not every show is that deep, but it felt right. It certainly didn't feel right not to say anything at a time when we're all being encouraged to use our voices, and it has been good to see so many people doing it. It's been sad to see so many people criticising people doing it. They sort of go on about, oh, this is virtue signalling. But a virtue is like a principle. It's a good thing. So how on earth has the word virtue been turned into a new way to insult people? But anyway, there we are. Soapbox away for now. I'm going to have some food. Thank you for sticking with this video stream, and I will see you on Sunday at 8 PM. Ciao.